Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Duck Zone. It is NBA playoff season just starting actually tomorrow. So, very excited for that. And we get to start with the play-in games, and then we get the real deal starting this weekend. James, are you excited for the NBA playoffs? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm excited it's finally here. As a Suns fan, I'll be honest, it's been a little rough last little stretch of the season, so I'm ready for some actual good basketball. Since I'll be honest, I have not watched a lot of the Phoenix Suns recently, and I don't know what they're going to be doing when it comes to their general manager and head coach. So I'm excited to actually watch some winning basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Fortunately, that's just around the corner. Unfortunately, in my opinion, these play-in games for me, they're not that exciting, and especially this year where we got like a Mavericks team, we got like a Heat team that were deeply under 500. Granted, these games will be played. Is there anything that stands out to you in these play-in games, or are we going to kind of just get 7, 8 winning them?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I look at, that Kings Mavericks matchup, and it's a battle of just like, the Kings depleted their roster to then bring in a Zach LaVine. They got rid of De'Aaron Fox, who's kind of the face of their franchise. Now it's Sabonis, who they're kind of like, is like the guy. I know we talked in a previous, I think it was our trade deadline episode, we talked about LaVine and DeMar DeRozan pairing up again. I'm not going to say it worked because I don't really think the Kings moved out of the spot they're really in. They've kind of been hovering around that play-in tournament the entire season. So, yeah, not great matchups, but I like where the NBA is trying to go with this, trying to just give a little more intrigue to it's almost like the first four for March Madness. It's kind of like you're playing in to then go play like a 1 and 2 seed. So it's like you're probably not going to beat those guys in a seven game series, 5 game series. I can't remember. I think it's seven. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think Golden State beats Memphis.
I'd agree with that.
I think Sacramento beats Dallas. And then I don't know. I mean, we got this weird Memphis team that just fired their coach a few weeks ago. They might go down the Kings. Actually, something I wanted to bring up with you. Actually, I forgot to talk to you about this before we got started, but it is really weird looking at least the West side and of the final eight. There's a good chance that you have two teams that just in the last month fired their coach. I mean, it's very bizarre.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a story to come out with Denver. That whole situation feels very strange, especially like a top four seed. Like a Memphis is also strange. Yeah, they're both strange, I guess, is what I'm gonna say. Denver shocked me.
Yeah,
Memphis didn't shock me. I thought it was weird.
yeah,
The timing was weird. Denver was like, okay, something internally is not, someone's either mad at someone, I saw a story that maybe he wasn't getting along with, Westbrook, or maybe Westbrook was he was playing Westbrook too much. I can't remember what I read now, but something to do with Westbrook. But
yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing was very, very strange to not only let go of Malone, but the GM as well.
I mean, it's very weird. I mean, I'm just looking at it right now. I mean, that's a 50-win team. Had they just won three more games, they're the two seed.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Memphis, I can get because these last couple years they've been kind of picked as like that up and coming team, and I feel like they haven't quite hit their potential. A
Yeah,
lot of that stems, I think, from John Morant and his antics on the court, tossing grenades and
yeah.
doing Uzi shots with his fingers and stuff, which whatever. But um, I don't know. Memphis, they had what was it like 3 or 4 years ago? They were like, they made the playoffs, and everyone's like, "Wow, this team's going to be around for a while." And it's like they're good, but like they just haven't. They're not top four in the West good yet.
Yeah, but it's like just going back to Memphis, it's one of those things where it's like I don't want to say every year, but they've over the last few years, there's been years where they're in the top three of the West. They're kind of jockeying up there, and and then things just completely fall apart. It was the same thing this year. They were like the two, the three for a lot of it, and then they fired the coach, and now they end up as an 8 seed in a play-in situation where I see Golden State and them playing each other. I don't see any way that they beat Golden State.
No, I think if Jimmy and Steph are on, and then you get the playmaking and defense from Draymond, the rest of those like side cast of characters, the Moses Moody's, the Brandon Pajemskis, like those guys they know their role and they're good. Memphis, yeah, they have Jaren Jackson, yeah, they have Ja, yeah, they have Desmond Bain, but like I don't know, they just they're an 8 seed for a reason. It's like you look at the team and you're like they have good players, but something's not right. Like something's not meshing right. Personally, I think a lot of it, if you want a storyline out of the season, is Ja Morant. I mean, the guy needs to just grow up. Like, you are the face of that franchise. Act like it. Like, I know we laugh, we joke, like we laughed at some of his antics. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, he throws a grenade after he makes a three, but like, obviously he's pissing some people off because it's leading to suspensions and fines. So it's like, dude, like, you're not 18 and you know, joking around with your buddies. Like, I don't know. No one cared when people used to do the bow and arrow. So it's like,
Yeah.
do something like that or throw up the threes, whatever. But like, obviously the gun gestures and the grenades are not pleasing people. So maybe like knock that off.
Yeah. Well, let's move over to the first round now, and we'll move over to the East because we've been talking a lot about the West. Let's move to the East. Is there a matchup in the first round that is, interesting you?
Yes, the Indiana Milwaukee series, a 4-5 matchup. I honestly think it could go either way. But what I think is intriguing about that is that these teams have history, even just dating back to last year in the play-in tournament. Um, Indiana's an interesting team. They have a lot of really good players. Halliburton has to be one of the most underrated superstars, if you want to call him a superstar in the NBA. I mean, I don't think a lot of people would really even know who he is. I mean, yeah, he was on the US Olympic team, but he didn't really play much. So, you ask our dads about Tyrese Halliburton, they might not know who he is. But they're a fun team and they have a lot of really good players. Obviously, Milwaukee's won it before. Giannis is a household name. Um, but I think that's going to be a really fun series. And there's a lot of really fun matchups. Turner against Lopez. Who on Indiana is going to guard Giannis? Who on Milwaukee is going to guard Halliburton? I mean, he's arguably one of the best, pass first point guards in the NBA. So, yeah, to me, that's a really fun series. And I honestly think that Indiana can get the job done.
I think that series is going to be great. A series that I have highlighted is New York going up against Detroit. You have two fan bases, two teams that came into the season with very different expectations. And the funny thing is, the 3 seed, the Knicks, if you'd ask their fan base, probably even their organization, they probably deem this season, even though they finished as a 3 seed, a disappointment. Whereas Detroit coming in as the 6 seed, miles exceeded expectations. Very young, very feisty team led by Cade Cunningham. Um, I think this is going to be a really good series. I think the Knicks will win it, but it's going to draw out to 6 or 7 games. And you'll just see the Knicks getting more and more frustrated that they're going to have to spend more and more energy. And then unfortunately, they would probably have to play Boston in the second round. And I expect a fresh Boston team to knock out New York in the second round. A lot of the assists going to Detroit, though, because I think it's going to be a very old school, not as pushy and violent as the '90s basketball, but a present day kind of version of that, of a scrappy Detroit team, and it's going to be really a cool introduction to the sports world because we know the sports world really doesn't dig into the regular season of the NBA. And let's be real, the Detroit Pistons were not on a lot of marquee ABC matchups this year. It's going to be a nice awakening that there's a lot of young talent on this team that's good. And Detroit basketball has a bright future going ahead. Even though I don't think they win this first round matchup, I think at least it's an intro of saying we're here, we're young, we're a feisty team. Um,
Yeah, they're another fun team that, random father who tunes into the playoffs wouldn't know who Cade Cunningham is.
mhm,
One player I'm going to shout out, and then we can move on to the West. And actually, we could talk about his twin brother too if we wanted to. But Asar Thompson is a budding superstar. Both those Thompson brothers are fantastic, and they're only getting better.
yep.
So, I really like Asar Thompson, and he complements Cade, I think, really well. I also think he's like the epitome of like when you think of like Detroit basketball, you think of like, you want to date back to the Bad Boys with Isaiah Thomas, and jump forward to maybe Jalen Rose. And then, you had the teams that won the championships with Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton and Ben Wallace and Rashid. But Asar, he kind of embodies what Detroit basketball really is all about. And it's kind of just gritty, hard-nosed, good defense.
Yep. All right, let's jump over to the West. Which matchup do you got over there?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued. I'm really interested to watch the Lakers, Minnesota, not just because they have a history of like, sort of being the same franchise since the Lakers came from Minnesota. Um, But Minnesota, to me, I thought they took a step forward last year. This season, they kind of plateaued. They did lose Karl Anthony Towns, which ended up being a much bigger loss than a lot of people thought. Defensively, he's not great, but I think his offense was sorely missed. Julius Randle gets kind of a bad rap. I'm not a huge fan of his game. I think he's kind of a cancer. Like statistically, he's good. I'm just not quite sure he's a winning basketball player. Um, but I think this matchup is actually pretty good for Minnesota just because the Lakers, you never know what you're going to get. They're super banged up. LeBron, has been nursing an injury. Luka seems to always be struggling with weight. I know he's come over to the Lakers and been good, but it's the Lakers. You never know what you're going to get. So I just think that this matchup in and of itself is just going to be a really fun matchup. And I mean, if Ant is locked in, who's to say that that Minnesota can't beat the Lakers?
Yeah, matchup I've got the 2-7. I'm just gonna pencil in Golden State here, taking on Houston. Houston, another team, really came in strong. A lot of young talent as well. They've got some great veterans. Um, Adams is there, Brooks is there, so they've got some guys that have playoff experience. But you got
Van Vliet.
yeah, oh, Van Fleet. Yep. They got a lot of guys that have been there before, but they are complemented with a lot of young talent as well. This Golden State team is scary. They've been very good since Butler has come over from Miami, and they're the team I kind of don't want to face in the playoffs. They can get red hot really quick. Steph, can hit a bunch of threes and turn a game around really quick. It's a different look Golden State team with the two-headed monster still there with Green and Curry, and I think that's going to be a very good series that could actually go either way. Um, that's the one that really stands out. I think the Minnesota Lakers series will be good too. The Denver Clipper one I really can't read, and then OKC I think is just going to roll whoever they play. So. Um, that said, we'll jump ahead. Who do you think is actually going to make the finals?
So I like OKC out of the West. I think they finally get the job done. They've been like knocking on the door for the last couple of years, and I think this year in the regular season, especially, obviously being the one seed, has finally shown that like they're the team to beat in the West. Um, it's hard for me to not think OKC doesn't make the finals. As for the East, I have Boston. They, you know, didn't have maybe the regular season they would have hoped for coming off a championship, and basically running it back. You would have thought they'd be the one seed again, and like, there's no one that can really beat them. They had an interesting season. They're still the two seed. They're still really good, and they know what they need to do to get the job done. And I think that's ultimately what matters the most in this playoff tournament. And that's why I have Boston and OKC in the finals.
I actually have the exact same matchup. OKC, Boston. I'll start with Boston really quick. A stat that I saw that I thought was a typo a week ago is they broke the season team record for threes in a year. They obliterated the record, and it's kind of you look at the team and you realize, oh my God, everyone on this team can hit threes, which is really scary because you're not just relying on one guy. Think back to like the Golden State Splash Brother days. You had Clay, you had Steph, and you kind of had a few guys here and there could hit threes, but no one that's like crazy that you're depending on. This team's got Derek White can hit it. Jalen, my goodness, Tatum can hit it. Brown can hit it. Porzingis can hit it. I mean, Peyton
Pritchard.
Pritchard can hit
Pritchard
it.
had a great
Yeah.
season.
I mean, all these guys. I mean, he just comes, goes, and goes, and it's just on a given night, any one of those guys can hit six threes, and you're not surprised. It's like, okay, so who's gonna be the guy? So coming out of the East, I mean, I'd be very surprised if anyone takes down Boston. I think the Cavs have a chance of giving up a fight, making a fight out of it, but I think Boston's just too deep. They've been there before. I just don't see how they get stopped. On the Western side, OKC has just had a fantastic season. SGA is gonna, in my opinion, win the MVP as he should. And that team is the only downside of that team is they are young, and it's my one worry is they just haven't been there before. But outside of that, the regular season's been so good. Um, I just don't think they'll be stopped. The only team that I can actually see get in their way, kind of looking at the bracket play out and unfold, is if the Lakers get there. I think the Lakers have a very good chance to take down OKC in the Western Conference Finals, but the Lakers have to get there. So I think you know LeBron's got to be cooking and not hitting the injury bug or Luka or something like that. There's ways that the Lakers could get bounced early, but if I wanted to take a long shot, which they're not really a long shot, it would be LA. So
Who do you have winning the series and in how many games?
I would go Boston. I would go Boston six.
Okay. I'm taking OKC in seven. I just think that team is like they have a lot of dogs on their team. I mean, guys who like they know their roles. Not to say Boston doesn't, but it's like you have SGA as like the ringleader, and then like Jalen Williams is such a good complement piece to him. You can name all those. I mean, Case and Wallace, Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren. I'll admit, I never thought he'd be this good this fast. Um, and I'm blanking on why am I blanking on the guy that signed a free agent deal from the Knicks?
Oh, oh no, Alex Caruso. But Knicks. Who was it?
Why can I not think of his name? Hold on, let me look it up. Why, it's right there. Isaiah Hartenstein.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Oh,
think he was a
I completely forgot.
massive,
Yeah,
massive addition. Just gives a little more rebounding and defense, and just another 7-footer to pair alongside Chet.
yeah,
But I think that they match up really well. I mean, Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein on the floor together. I mean, one of those guys can guard Porzingis,
yeah,
and the other is athletic enough to guard, a Tatum or a Horford or whoever else, they need to guard. But
yeah,
I'm going to throw it out there. I'm just going to say OKC in seven.
yeah. It's not a bad pick. Before we sign off, any final statements about the wonderful NBA season coming to a close and the playoff season starting up?
I'm going to leave a interesting fact that I'm not happy about. But the Phoenix Suns are the only team in the NBA to not have a lottery pick and also will not be going to the playoffs. So good luck, front office in Phoenix, because you have some questions and players to move around or trade or I don't know. But the franchise is in a very, very dark place right now. So I'm interested to see if Booker or Durant or Beal or all three or two of the three or one of the three gets moved because you got to make some moves.
Gonna be a mess. It's gonna be. I can't imagine KD is a Sun in a few months. That I'll bet a lot of money on. So, Question is, where does he land, and what do the Suns get in return? Because yeah, it is a bad situation in Phoenix. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. And until next time, enjoy the NBA. Baseball is in full swing. Yeah, it's a good time of the year. See y'all later.